Do you have pictures in those old so-called magnetic albums? Me too. And we know they are so bad for your pictures and documents. Look how yellow that's getting. And we need to rescue them. So I'm here to help you rescue your precious photographs and memorabilia from your old sticky albums so you can put them in photo safe albums or storage. And if you'd like to know more about how to store the mementos that you get out of your albums, then watch my other video on how to preserve old documents. I worked on my sticky albums in late 2020 and recorded this video, but just a little word of warning, it's not the best quality. So if you see a few pixels or anything that sort of like shows you not great video quality, I just want you to know that it's not your screen. But this is really helpful information. It's going to help you. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Beth Saunders here, and I am doing a video today to help you rescue old photos and memorabilia from those old sticky albums that we were so fond of back in the 70s, 80s, and maybe even the 1990s. I did it myself, and I haven't gotten around to rescuing everything yet. I did a lot of that when I first started Creative Memories. I started Creative Memories for myself, scrapbooking that some people call it, back in 1997. And I've been an advisor or consultant since late 2003. I've also worked in archives, library archives. So I've been preserving photos and records and memorabilia for quite a while now. If anybody still has any of these around their house, I was so proud of myself back in the day for getting things into an album, especially if I wrote anything down. But this one is nothing fancy. This is sort of a placeholder, and I just have some miscellaneous family things in here that I am going to rescue, and I'm going to put some of them in my scrapbooks, and some of them are going to be more appropriate to just genealogy files. So, and I've got another one here. This one has a very pretty cover that a family member made for me, and I have to figure out something to do with that because I would like to save it. But the insides, well, you're going to see in a minute. So what I'm going to use for this, we have these at Creative Memories, and it is awesome. It is called the MultiPurpose Tool. It has a pointy edge and a sort of a spatula edge. Now, archivists, people who are professionals in records preservation, they often use something called a spatula. It's like a cross between a knife and a letter opener, if you've seen those old-fashioned letter openers. So it's very much like this, but it's metal. This is plastic, so it has a very sort of sharp edge. It doesn't cut things, though. It's not in danger so much of cutting through your pictures, and it's flexible. That is the best part. It has a little bit of flexibility because some of the things you're going to run across, you have to kind of work your way around, and it's nice to be able to bend it a little. Okay, here's one. This is my aunt's wedding picture. You can tell it's in a newspaper. It's not in great shape. I think it came to me this way, and there were multiple copies. So this was like an extra. But you're going to run into probably 3 situations. And I think this is the first one. Ooh. See how this is yellowed? These old papers and the glue are just full of acid, and that's going to degrade and pass on to your photos and your memorabilia. So you want to, of course, you want to rescue your things from this because it's going to make them go downhill. So this newspaper article, this is the first situation you're going to run into where the glue has lost its glue. And some of the things in your old books like these, well, as soon as you lift the plastic, they're just going to fall out if they haven't fallen out already. So this one was easy, but of course you don't want things just falling out and getting crumpled up. By the way, newspaper is one of the worst things to keep. It is full of lignin, which is comes from wood pulp that the paper is made from. It has a lot of acidity, and the lignin is what turns it yellow. And it gets very brittle and very yellow, especially when it's in the light, when it's been in the sunshine or anything like that. The best thing to do for your news articles, newspaper clippings, is to copy them on acid-free paper, and that's going to preserve them in as best a state as you can. In the archives, we often throw newspaper clippings away. I know for genealogists that sort of hurts our feelings, but that's after we've copied them onto acid-free paper so that you can preserve them for, 100 years or more, because this obviously is not going to stay in good shape. So that's the one situation where it's just lost its glue and everything's just falling out. You're also in danger when things fall out of you lose, they get mixed up and you lose any writing that went with them. So you might not be able to recognize all the people that are in your photo album. The second situation is when it's really sticky, but you can use the multi-purpose tool to get it out. The third situation is when it's permanent, like when it's been glued to the page, especially some of those antique albums that have black pages. We often ran into some in the archives that you're just not going to remove them from that paper. So that's a different situation. But let's see what we've got here now. And I'm going to tilt the screen down so you can see what I'm working on. Okay, we have some more newspaper clippings. This is my mom and my grandmother. So this is, I'm sure, got a lot of information on it. And it's starting to come up easily, but it's got a tear here. Okay, that's going to be one of the easy ones. I haven't pre-checked this, so you're seeing that this just as I would do to rescue things from an album. Let's check this one. It is a little stickier, so I'm going to use the dull end here. By the way, the pointy end is nice for scrapbookers when you're picking up small stickers, especially letters. Sometimes our fingers feel a little too big to handle delicate things, and so the pointy end is good for that. So we're going to use the round end to slide under here, and that wants to tear. You know how newspaper articles are often folded, and wherever those folds are, want to tear. Okay. And there's a fold right down here, and it wants to tear. So let's go over here. It's like a little piece is chipped out of the middle, and there's not much you can do about that. There we go. That crease is really hard, so I'm working very gently on it. While I'm working on this, we'll talk about that third case. When you have something that is either more fragile than this and very stuck to the page and you can't get it off without tearing it to pieces, or like in the case of some of those old black page albums where pictures have actually been glued on and the glue hasn't deteriorated enough to make it easy to take off. In those cases, there's a couple of things you can do. You can copy the page and use the copies as your archives. You can, if you think it's important and you want to put them, say, into a new scrapbook or some kind of new storage, you can cut out those pictures, leaving the black paper stuck to the back of them. And whatever you do, you're going to want to preserve any writing. Usually in those black albums, somebody's used a white pen or something to describe the pictures. The sad thing about not getting them out at all is sometimes they will have writing on the back. But if they're 70 or 100 years old, you're probably going to be able to tell that because the ink has often started coming through and showing on the front side. Ballpoint pen ink is very acidic, and it will eventually eat through the pictures, so you don't want to use that on the backs of your pictures. And this is rather fragile down here at the bottom. It wants to chip. So you just have to be patient. Oh, another thing to do, if, for example, the old black albums, if your pictures are so fragile or if they're really stuck on, instead of cutting them out, you might just leave them as is, because the whole idea is you want to preserve them, and to do that you don't want to damage them any farther. If you decide to leave those really sticky old albums as they are, take some acid-free buffered paper and put it between the pages. And that will help preserve the faces of your photographs, the shiny part or the front of the photographs, longer. So to put between those pages, you can use any Creative Memories paper because all of our paper is acid-free, lignin-free, and buffered. Now, if you buy acid-free paper at the office supply store and it's not buffered, and you stick a photograph on it or any kind of memorabilia on it, it will not stay acid-free. Acid will travel from the item to the paper. So that's why you need something that's buffered, because that is stabilized and it won't pass the acid between items. Definitely won't make anything worse. I've heard some people say to use a hairdryer, and I would hesitate to do that. You're going to make the glue stickier, and you're probably going to end up with the glue still on the backs of the pictures. You're also going to, if you have photographs, you're potentially going to endanger the actual photograph. You're going to make it want to curl up. And if you do decide to try that, you're definitely going to have to use a low heat setting and have a lot of patience. I'm glad this isn't one of those metal spatulas because this is so fragile. I might have poked through in places. And I still have to be careful even with the plastic. Ta-da! So except for a couple of tiny little chips that were already broken, and it did tear on that fold, it wants to tear some more. It's very fragile, but it's in pretty good shape. Sorry, it's upside down, but I'm not going to handle it any more than I have to. There we go. Okay, let's see what else we got. And no, I'm not going to do every page. There's another article to work on. Here's some photographs. That one came off easily. Newspaper article. and a napkin. That's going to come off easily. So what else we have? We have some napkins, newspaper, and some memorabilia. That's going to come off easily. And that's going to be pretty easy. So the glue was old in this one. Okay, now then, this other album. So I collect lighthouses, as in visits to them. So this is just a wide collection of lighthouses that I stuck in this book. And again, a family member made the cover for me. So I bought a new album to put these in. And this is a fast to fab, which means the pages are already done. So that I don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I can just move them quickly from here to here. That's my plan. And just as an example, let's see what shape this is in. Okay, the picture. It's a little more stuck than that other album. Oh, by the way, one of the other things you can do is when I worked in the archives, I preserved a church album. So it was only 30-some years old, but pictures were falling out, pieces of paper were really stuck, and things were turning yellow already. So it needed some rescuing. But I don't know those people. You know, I'm working in the archives. I don't know everybody in the pictures that I'm trying to preserve. So what I did was make photocopies of the pages before I started working on them. That preserved any writing that was on the pages, where pictures had names, or if there were, sometimes there were construction paper decorations that, you know, I'm not sure if those need to be saved or not, but that would be on the photocopies, because preserving the information is as important as anything, right? The pictures won't matter if you don't know who the people are. So this is a little stickier than I thought at first. You see what a modern picture this is. It hasn't turned yellow yet, but it will. Like that church album, you know, it won't take 100 years. It might take just 20 or 30, or even less if you store this near a sunny window. You see how yellow this has already gotten. Okay. So that wasn't too hard, but it still needed a little bit of help. Let's see if I can get these stamps up. I think they're going to be a little more of a challenge. No, actually, sometimes thin paper is really hard. That's going to work really well. If it had been really super stuck, then I could possibly have just cut it out, or cut it out as well as I could have. Okay, I'm just going to put these on top so I don't have to do that all again. And I have postcards, I have little brochure pieces, and that's going to be pretty similar to the front page. There you go. Just popped right off once I got it started. So some of the sticky is gone. You can see the difference in color, but not all of it. There's enough to hold it in. So I would just continue on that way using the multi-tool as I worked on the albums. And there you go. And then I'm going to put them in a new album, or like these memorabilia things, church bulletins and such. I can put those in an album. I can put those in my genealogy files. All kinds of things you can do. They're a lot safer than being in here. You can preserve your memories. You can preserve your family archives. What do you have in old sticky albums? You saw some of my collections, so let me know in the comments what you're working on. Also, feel free to ask me any questions. And again, if you want to know how to store old documents that you've rescued, watch my other video on how to preserve old documents and click subscribe and like to see future videos. Thanks.